Welcome to the Life You Love podcast.
We're your hosts, Grace Lemire
and Erin Convertini.
This podcast is for the dreamers and the doers.
For the women who want to create a life they genuinely love waking up to.
We believe that life's short, so let's build one we love.
We talk a lot on this podcast about getting our finances together, becoming financially literate, and making progress toward our financial goals. To make any financial progress, there needs to be a spread between your income and your expenses, and the bigger that spread is, the quicker you can hit your goals. That's why Grace and I are both huge proponents of increasing your income to hit your financial goals, and side hustles have been such a big part of both of our financial journeys over the last few years. In today's episode, we're going to be going through a list of side hustle ideas that we put together just to get you guys started. We wanted to film this episode topic because every time I reference side hustles in any of my videos, I always get comments asking what my side hustles are, what side hustles I recommend, and I think people really overcomplicate this. So hopefully this episode just inspires you to take action on something or to do your own research into clever ways to increase your income.
I know we've done a couple episodes kind of similar where we've brought on people who have different side hustles, or we've talked about ways to increase your income and things like that. But I think, like you kind of said in what you were just reading, we just want to give you guys different ideas. And even if you maybe don't take any of these and go and do this exact side hustle or whatever, maybe it just helps you think through different ways to make money, because I always say, money is everywhere. It really is. And you're sitting on money right now. Literally the chair you're sitting on costs something. There's just money everywhere. So if you can think creatively, there's lots of ways to make it. People want to spend it. So there's lots of ways for you to make it.
Yeah, definitely. I know even just preparing for this episode and this list, these are not a list of necessarily our side hustles or things that we've tried. There's a lot of things on my list that I've never tried before, but we were doing a lot of research before this episode, just again to put together a list of ideas to kind of get you guys started and just help you start thinking either out of the box or more obvious things that are I have heard of that a million times. Why haven't I tried that? We just wanted to kind of get you guys started and maybe spark your interest here or there. But I do think people really overcomplicate the whole side hustle thing, because it can be anything from we're going to talk about some super obvious ones like dog sitting or babysitting or picking up bartending shifts. That's still a side hustle. A side hustle can be literally anything to make money outside of your full-time job. So we're going to kind of talk about some of the different ones and the different types of side hustles. But I think that would be a good place to start, just kind of distinguishing what a side hustle is and kind of how to go about this. So I said, in my opinion, there's two types of side hustles. So there's things that you can start making money with pretty immediately. And this is going to be a side hustle where you're really trading your time for money. Maybe you still have an hourly wage. It can be literally a part-time job, a physical part-time job. Anything, I don't want to use the term low skill or no skill, but you do hear those terms pretty frequently, where most people can do them. It still does take a little bit of skill. It's still work, but they're pretty low skill, lower barriers to entry type of things. However, with these sort of I would call them, I don't know, type 1 side hustles, you can relatively start immediately. And as soon as you start, you're going to start making money. So if you go get a part-time job, as soon as you start working that part-time job, you're going to get paid 2 weeks later. Whereas type 2 side hustles, and we have some of these on our list as well, these are the side hustles that you're going to need to spend some hours upfront unpaid to learn the skill or build your business or whatever it is. So you're going to have to put in some work up front that you're probably not going to get paid for. Maybe for the first 2 months, you don't make $1 from it, but over the long term, you can really scale it. And I think there's a lot higher earning potential with some of these more type 2 side hustles. So just kind of making that distinction, but both are really great. If you're in a situation where you're I want to start making extra money tomorrow, maybe go for one of these type 1 side hustle ideas that we're going to kind of talk about. But if you're in a situation where you're I have a lot of extra time on my hands, I am in a situation where I don't necessarily need an extra $500 tomorrow, I'm going to dedicate time to learning a new skill. And in the long run, it's really going to pay off for me.
100%. Do you want to get started with some of the ones on our list then? Because I think I have some type 1 side hustles. I didn't divide my list into them, but I have a lot of type 1 side hustles. I think one thing, as you were talking about this, it reminded me, I am blanking on the name of the app. If I can remember it, I'll put it in the show notes. But there's this app that basically, gosh, I wish I remember the name because it just sounds silly without it. But basically, it's an app that allows you to pick up shift work near you, random shift work. So let's say it's Monday and there's a bar where a bar down the street and there's a big event or something, and they're like, we need extra dishwashers, or we know we're going to need like an extra like busser or something like that, they'll post it on there. And obviously the rates depend on like where you are, and you're probably going to get somewhere around minimum wage. But for something that's really flexible, I don't think you're obligated to do a certain amount of work or anything. There could also be like events near you. So let's say someone's hosting like a farmer's market in your town and they're like, we need like more traffic people or something like that. They'll post it on there. And it's just, I mean, it's not going to get you like a bajillion dollars. It's not going to pay you like any sort of insane rate, but it is nice to just have it there and to not have to like commit to a specific amount of time. I'll try to find the app because I'm blanking on the name of it. You just reminded me of it when you were saying like, picking up little
Yeah.
shifts and stuff. But
No,
yeah,
I do
it's a
love
nice
that
way to do
because,
that.
yeah, for a lot of those sort of like shift worker, like for example, we have a friend that he picked up a part-time job as a gate agent in an airport. But with that, like you typically are dedicating a certain amount of time, and not everyone has that much flexibility. If you have a full-time job and you're like, okay, well, I don't want to go get a part-time job and have to do 20 hours a week. Like, what if I'm busy one week, or what if I just want to pick up an extra shift here and there? So that's really cool. One thing that I had on my list, kind of going off of that, was I don't want to use the term lazy girl job, but that was like a trend on social media for the longest time, I think over the summer. And essentially, they were talking about jobs that like you obviously have to do work, but I think the work is just a little less like brain capacity. Like it's a lot of maybe admin work or something where you don't necessarily, your brain doesn't need to be in it. Things that come to my mind are if you went and picked up like a front office or like a receptionist or like a kind of like operations type role. I know in college I had an operations internship for a summer, and that was like the best summer of my life because I was doing so much admin work, but my brain really didn't need to be in it. I needed to use like 15% of my brain. So I was listening to a bunch of podcasts and I was like using the rest of my brain capacity to learn about other things and like learn other ways to make money. So if you are in a situation where you're like, no, I definitely need money right now, I have the time to pick up a part-time job doing something like that, but I still want to maybe like use that time that I am at work to be able to like learn new skills and kind of figure out my next move, then that could be a good way to go about it.
Love the idea of a lazy girl job. I do. I think it's amazing. When I was in college, there was a period of time where it was a semester where I had 3 internships, 3 jobs, and my normal classes. And I studied for the LSAT the same semester. I have no idea how I did it because I could never work as much as I did that semester. But part of the reason why I was able to do so much, I mean, I was still working probably like between all my stuff. I was just go, like 70 hours a week. But I had one job where part of the job was to be present in the office. I was a resident assistant, RA in college. So yes, I had like on my like duty shifts that I had, I would have to do rounds of the building at like 7, 10, 12, and 2. But in between that, I just had to be in the office. And so I was sitting there in the office just in case like a student would stop by, but like who the heck is coming by at like midnight or 1:30 in the morning? Like no one is. So I would sit there in the office and I would literally clock in for my other job at the same time and like get that work done, because once I did the tasks that I needed to do and did rounds of the building, like that was all I had to do on my shifts. And obviously not all jobs are like that, but there are certain jobs where you do clock in, you might have a little bit to do in the beginning, and then you're kind of just like there to be like ready for anyone, which goes perfectly into my next one on this list. Is one thing I've seen a lot of people do, and honestly I kind of want to do it. It's just like a fun side quest, and like a good way to meet people, is getting a job at your gym or like a gym. I saw a video the other day of this girl. This is what made me think about it. This is bad. She was like, oh, who was going to tell me that, like, if you want to meet hot men, just like get a job at the gym? And she literally was like her at the front desk and like this really cute guy behind her. And I was like, all right. I'm
I
like,
know a girl that met her husband when she was working at her gym.
I literally saw the video and I was like, she, I'm playing checkers, she's playing chess. I was like, she knows what she's doing. Like that is a woman in STEM. But the thing that it's good about it is that depending on what gym it is, or like if it's a Pilates studio or something like that, you usually get at least a discounted membership, usually a free membership with it. So you're saving there, but then also you're probably going to meet like-minded people as well. But then you're also getting paid. And there is a gym too. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if it's like a solid core or like, again, I'll find it and link it in the show notes. I saw a TikTok about it. There's some sort of gym that if you do like one shift a month where you come in and you help clean after hours, you get like a discounted membership or a free membership or something. I'll see if I can find it. But just something like that too, that is like a little bit of effort. And yes, obviously you have to be at the reception desk and like, check people in if they need it or help them activate a membership or whatever. But for the most part, it's like pretty chill. And then you're already at the gym. That would make me want to work out more. Like if I have to drive to
Yeah.
work, might as well work out after.
Speaking of the one time a month thing, this is so not on my list and not what I was talking about, but my boyfriend's a pilot and he said that a lot of flight attendants do it like super part-time, like maybe a couple times a month, and you get travel benefits. You get to fly
Mm-hmm.
for free if you're a flight attendant. So that could even be like you're not going to make a lot of money. I don't think flight attendants make that much, but if you're only doing it a couple times a month alongside of another job and then you literally get to travel for free, that can save you so much room in your budget.
Say I've heard that about people who do like oh God, what is it called? The people who are like outside at the airport. Yeah, gate agents. Yeah, like people who like help direct the planes and like do that type of stuff. I've heard people do that on like a very part-time basis too, and then can end
Hmm.
up it also doesn't really pay well, but I've heard that you can get like travel benefits from that job too. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I've heard. But
Hmm.
definitely interesting to think about like what are the benefits that come with the side hustle, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, definitely. A couple other ones that I have on my list here. I mean, we have some like super obvious examples, but I still want to mention them because I think people overlook them. But like babysitting, dog sitting, house sitting, especially dog sitting and house sitting, that is so like, I don't want to use the term low effort. You're still working, but like you're going to go and you're going to play with a dog. And then you have so much free time while you're doing that to like work on a different side hustle, work on one of these type two side hustles. Even with babysitting, I had the best babysitting gig in college that got ruined because of COVID, but I did it for like 2 years before that. But I watched like a 12-year-old boy and I drove him to baseball practice and I like took him to the country club to swim with his friends in the summer. And I got paid a lot of money because the family was well off and it was literally the best summer of my life. So obviously like those could be really good gigs if you look into them. But then also some other like more obvious examples like Instacart, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Uber, Walmart, Spark, Amazon Flex. Those are all pretty like make your own hours, do it when you want kind of thing, and just a quick way to get some extra cash. We're coming up around the holidays if you need some extra cash for the holidays.
I also had a babysitting gig. It was very short-lived, but it was like I think I only like watched. I never even watched I never interacted with the kid. I met the child once just to like before the mom hired me. But what the parents would do is they would put the child to bed. She was like 4, maybe 5. They would put her to bed at like 6:30 p.m. and then which was crazy. I could see her on the baby monitor that she was like just chilling in her crib, just like wait, and then she would eventually fall asleep at like 8 o'clock, but which was crazy. But they would put her to bed so that I didn't even have to worry about it. I would come over. I would literally just they just wanted someone obviously to be in the house while they would go out on a date and then they would come back at like 11 or 12 and they had this super long like countertop that ran the whole distance of like their massive kitchen, and they would fill like the whole thing with different snacks for me, and they paid me so well, and I would sit there and I would just like do my homework. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who are in that situation where they're like, okay, yeah, play with the kid for like 2 hours and then just like sit here while
Hmm.
we're gone on a date night because the kids are going to go to bed. I don't know. I also looked into dog sitting and dog walking and looked at what the rates are in Massachusetts. And on average, an overnight dog sitter makes $45 to $75 per night. And then dog walking is $16 to $24 per hour in Massachusetts. So
I
like,
literally pay my dog sitter, I pay her $50 a night and I mean, I've used her like 10 different times since I've been in Nashville. So
yeah.
I've probably paid her like $1,500 so far in the last 4 months. But like for dogs and kids, if you find someone that you really trust, you're willing to pay them
Mm-hmm.
so well because you obviously love your child or your dog so much. So you're like, yeah, I'm willing to pay the $50 because I know Bella's taken care of. I know Bella really likes it there and everything. And I literally drive Bella to my dog sitter. I drop her off. All she has to do is play with a golden retriever for a couple of days and makes $50 a night.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, yeah, you are like taking the dog on a walk and like making sure the dog gets fed, but like it's pretty passive, I feel like. Like most of the time, you're really not doing anything. And also, that's fun. Like it's just fun to hang out with somebody's
Yeah.
dog. I don't know. And then be able to be like, okay, now I get to give it back. And like it's not my full time responsibility.
Yes.
Okay. But a couple other like side hustles on my list. One thing, like, I don't know about the insurance of this, but listing your car on Turo, I know is something a lot of people do, and something to consider if you really don't drive your car that much, like the miles like wouldn't add that much onto it, but a lot of people are like want to rent cars that way, and it's becoming a lot more popular. Something else I think is really interesting too is on TaskRabbit. I never realized, whenever I thought of TaskRabbit, I was like, oh, you can like build furniture or like mount a TV, but there's actually way more on there. Obviously you can do those things, but there's also like cleaning, yard work, closet organizing. There's so many different things on there, and a lot of people, especially with the holidays coming up too, I saw last year there was a thing about you can pay people on TaskRabbit to wrap your gifts. Like some people who have like a bunch of kids, or they're just like, frankly, I don't want to sit down and do this.
Yeah,
Or if
decorate
they,
for Christmas, hang your
yeah,
Christmas lights outside.
yes,
Like old people
yes.
do not
Yep,
like no
decorating your
or
Christmas
yeah.
tree too. A lot of people hire people on TaskRabbit to decorate their tree and like style it because they don't know how to do it or they don't want to do it. But it's just like there's so much on there that you can do. And I know like the things I'm listing is only scratching the surface. So if you have skills like that, obviously you're not going to necessarily get a booking right away, but it's something to just like put yourself out there and see what you get. Which I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that'd be fun. Like I want to
Yeah.
decorate someone's tree and like
Yeah,
get
and
paid
like
for
I would hate to organize my closet, but if I was organizing someone else's closet, typically how
Yeah.
that one works, I think, is like they give you a budget for how much you can spend on like obviously every gig is going to be different, but how
Yeah.
much you can spend on buying like the hangers and the bins and all of like the nice closet organizing stuff, and then you come over and do it for like that would be so fun to go to Home
Yeah.
Goods and buy all of the
Yeah.
cute bins on someone else's
Yeah.
dime and then
Right.
organize
I would
someone
love
else's
that.
closet.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like I would love that. I think that'd be actually so fun. I love doing things on other people's dimes and then
Yes.
getting paid for it. Like I don't want to do it for myself. I don't want to clean my own space. I will. But if you're going to hire me to clean your space, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I would love that.
Absolutely. Two that I have, actually a couple that I have on here that again are super obvious, but I feel like people overlook them. Bartending. I had a roommate in college that bartended like all through college, and she would come home with like $300 in cash. If you get a good gig bartending, I feel like not everywhere is good. It obviously depends on the place, but she was at a place where she had a lot of regulars. So those people know her because she's there every single Friday night or every single Sunday. She would work during the Steelers game. So they obviously like start to tip you better and things like that. You would literally come home with $300 in cash. So I feel like that's something not to overlook. And then the other one is you can be a beverage cart girl at a golf course. This is
I
obviously
want to do
seasonal.
this so bad.
You
I
can
want to
make
do it so
so much
bad.
money doing that.
Maybe I'll
Because I
do
feel
it.
like guys just go and get like hammered at golf courses and then they like tip the girl like super
They
well.
do. Yeah. I feel like you have to be a little like badass, you know, where you're just, because I feel like the men could obviously,
Yeah.
same with like bartending, like people are intoxicated, whatever. So you have to, you know, I don't
Yep.
know,
Hold your own
pay
for
attention.
sure.
Yeah. And hold your own. But I always see the videos of like the beverage cart girlies are like, let's see how much we can make today, whatever. And I just feel like it would be really fun. I don't know. And I love yapping with strangers where I know I'm like never going to see them again in my life. Like,
Yeah,
because it's
for
just, I
sure.
don't know. It's
Okay,
fun.
the other thing about these side hustles that like side hustles slash like part-time jobs, honestly, we're gonna get into some more that aren't necessarily part-time jobs, but like the more you work, the less time you have to spend money, you know? Like
Mhm.
you're going to work more, so you're going to make more money. But then also, like, if your kind of your hobby is spending a Sunday on the golf course being a beverage cart girl, that's a Sunday that you don't have time to go like stroll through Target and spend $100. So that's also a good way
It's
to look at
true.
it. If you're finding yourself like spending money all the time because you're bored, pick up a part-time job, make some extra money. The other one that I had on here that
Just
I
don't be bored.
completely like overlooked, but I feel like it could be very good is if you are really good at one subject, maybe you're like fresh out of college or something, tutoring high school kids. I feel like you can make a lot of money doing that.
You can. You definitely can. I know my brother did that when we were younger, or he was looking into it. You do have to be careful because there's so many tutoring scams. Like that's a big thing, especially on like sites like care.com, unfortunately. Speaking from experience, he almost got scammed. There's a lot of people who will be like, oh, my family's relocating to the US and we need a tutor for my child. Here's a check. Can you go cash it and then give half to like the nanny or half to the, yeah. I mean, it's obviously like raises a red flag, you know, but you do have to like pay attention. But even just a lot of like schools and like just like yeah, lots of like programs are like get in like a Facebook group and be like, hey, like I have a degree in this, and like a lot of people near you will probably be interested. Also too, when it comes to like different types of coaching, like sports coaching, for example, like if you were a gymnast or something, like you could help people with that. Or like,
Yeah.
I just feel like, especially during the winter when it's like off season for certain sports, people are looking for help. And I will say a lot of like professional training is very expensive. I used to play softball, and that was a lot of, I did like private training with, got this like facility in my town, but it really like added up. And I didn't even do like the top tier kind of like or whatever. So having like one-on-one training at a reasonable rate for people is really attractive. So that's definitely
My
something to consider.
Yeah, I have a 17, or no, she just turned 18. I have an 18-year-old niece who is a cheerleader, and she got a part-time job at her gymnastics studio, or like the gymnastics studio that she went when she was younger, as like I don't know, a gymnastics coach for toddlers. So like my
Mm-hmm.
toddler niece is being instructed by my
Oh,
oldest niece, and she makes $25 an hour for like group whatever as an 18-year-old.
dang.
But then after like I think 6 months of being there, she can start doing private lessons, and then she
Mm,
makes $50 an hour doing private lessons as an 18-year-old. So like,
wow. Good for
yeah, I
her. That's
know. I
great.
mean, I am not a gymnast or
Right.
can't.
Yeah. No, I don't have the skills for that. But I'm like, my first job was like at McDonald's, and I think I made $10 an hour, like, because that was the minimum wage. So to be able to, yeah, just to find something that you have skills in where you can make more is huge. I have some more now that are like more type two side hustles that are more businessy, but things I think are worth talking about. So first one is UGC, which is user generated content. I know we've talked about this before on the podcast, I think in multiple episodes, honestly, but I always get asked about it because I offer UGC through my freelance business, and then I also do it as a content creator. And it's a way that a lot of content creators make money. But basically, what it is just creating videos or photos. You can do photos too, but it's mostly videos, I find, for brands to use in their organic or paid marketing, which means they can use it to like post on their own pages and promote their brand, or they can use it in paid ads. And the reason I really like UGC is because when a brand like pays for a video, especially if they're going to use it in paid marketing, they'll pay you for the video, but then they also have to pay you for usage rights, which basically is the right for them to be able to use it in a paid ad. And because they're going to ultimately use your face in your content that you just created to profit and make them money. That's the goal. You can charge, like you could charge like $1,000 for video or something, let's just say, and they're going to use it in paid ads for a year. Well, now you've just like taken the overall cost of that deal and gotten so much higher, right? Like it will just, I don't know, become like a much bigger amount because of the usage rights. $1,000 for a video for like organic marketing or whatever, if you're just starting out, is obviously not very realistic. And you will see things out there where people will pay you. I just got a DM the other day. Someone wanted to pay me $70 for a video, and I was like, no. Ever, if you're starting it as a side hustle and you're not a content creator, I don't want to say that you're, for example, if someone wants to buy a UGC video from Alex Earl, it's going to cost them an arm and a leg because she has a very well-known personal brand. Yeah, like that's part of it.
Yeah.
Her image is part of it. But if you're doing it not as a content creator, there's a lot of opportunity because there's brands who are just going to be looking for things at different price points. For example, you could get paid $250 per video, and that brand can then like go use that video, whatever. But to actually like script, film, and edit the video might only take you a couple of hours. Like
Mm-hmm.
that could take you probably less than 3 hours. And if you're getting paid $250 per video, like that's amazing considering like the amount you're putting in versus taking out. And I think I've shared this on my social media, but there's a site that I recently came across. It's an agency owned by a creator turned entrepreneur named JT Barnett, and it's called Creator X. And the UGC opportunities on there are insane. Like there was one I saw the other day that was like, I think it was like 8 to 10 videos a month for $7,000. And that was for like this brand's organic social media. And yes, you do need to create a good video, need to get them results and whatever, but $7,000 for like 8 to 10 videos, that is not going to take you that many hours over the course of a month to do in comparison to something like, you know, if you want to make $7,000 a month as like a Bev Cart girl, like you're going to have to work a lot, you know? So it's just, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. I feel like it's just something that people are really interested in. And you can get started literally by just going on TikTok and like searching like UGC examples and look at examples of UGC. Or when you're scrolling through social media, pay attention to the video ads that come up and be like, did this ad hook me in? Did it not? What do I like? What do I not like? And then create some sample content around products that you have around your house. Like I'm literally sitting here, I have a thing of like Cetaphil lotion next to me. They sent me the package. Thanks, Cetaphil. But I'm like, okay, how can I create like a UGC video showing this like Cetaphil lotion? Like, what would, if I was a consumer, like, what do I want to see in that ad? Create some sample videos around it and then make a portfolio and then start applying for opportunities on sites like Creator X and Upwork. And
Hmm.
there's a newsletter called UGC Opportunities where they send out opportunities all the time. People post about them on Twitter. Like there's so many places to find opportunities, but it does take some upfront work for sure.
Yeah, it definitely does. Or even because I know like when I did a lot more UGC back in like 2022 and 2023. I don't do as much of it anymore. I still will like if the opportunities come to me, but I'm not really like seeking out many UGC opportunities anymore. But my first two UGC deals were the first one was $25 a video back in May of 2022. But I will say I actually really liked that gig because they sent me the scripts and it was basically all talking to the camera. And UGC ads, like short form ads, are typically between 15 to 30 seconds long. Like the shorter, the better for paid ads. So literally, I would get paid $25 for talking to the camera for 15 to 30 seconds. That video as a whole, like between editing it, filming it, all of that might take me 20, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And they would basically send me like as many scripts as I wanted to do that month. So it was kind of scalable. And then the other one was $75 a video. And it was, they sent me the script. So I didn't have to come up with the scripts, but the videos were a little bit more like it wasn't just me like sitting there talking to the camera. There was like a little bit more that went into it. But still, I was able to make like a couple $1,000s a month just off of those two because I was doing like so many scripts for these two companies. So don't even discount like the lower paid
Mm-hmm.
opportunities. Obviously, you want to try to get like the best rates and stuff. But when you're just starting out, I think like think about it as a learning opportunity. And the other thing that I will say about UGC is when I was trying to learn more about it after I was like getting those two deals and then I wanted to do more UGC, I was looking at a lot of the UGC examples on TikTok and I was getting really discouraged because a lot of them were like the super aesthetic, like here's the product and they're like putting it in a bowl of water and like splashing the water on it and recording it to make the product like look super aesthetic. That's just like what I thought UGC was in my mind. I was like, I'm never going to be able to do this. Like, I'm not an aesthetic person. That's not like my brand or whatever. But it doesn't have to be. Like, UGC can literally be anything. There's so many different ways to go about it. Every company at this point uses video content in their advertising. So anything from a software or an app or a beauty product or a piece of clothing or a home appliance or a pet product, like everything can be turned into UGC. So I feel like a good, when you're kind of thinking of like, okay, what videos do I want to make my portfolio? Maybe go to some of the sites that are listing these UGC opportunities and see what types of videos they're looking for, and then try to recreate it with similar products or just like kind of make a mock video for the brand that you would inevitably want to work for. I feel like that's a better way to go about it than being like, oh, I have to make all of these like super aesthetic beauty product videos like the girls that I see on TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you go onto TikTok and you search for UGC examples, you'll see different things. You'll definitely see some of those like product focused ones, but you'll also see ones of people who are just talking to the camera, but you can see how they're engaging. Cause I think a lot of people think, okay, well, if they're paying me 25 bucks a video or $50 a video, I can just like talk to the camera and like say nothing and like do, or just like show no emotion and have no like, it's just not engaging. But like the reality is that's not really going to help you build it into something where you can get those high paying clients. You do want to like create videos that are going to engage people, but you can do that talking to the camera. So you can't just like put the phone there and just talk. I have seen UGC videos where people, it was so unfortunate. It was in someone's portfolio when I was looking to hire a UGC creator. I was like, oh, come on. They literally just put the phone down and then started recording. And they didn't even crop out the beginning of them putting the phone down. And they were just talking straight to the camera. And I was like, that's not UGC. That's just you recording yourself. I could do that too, right? But you can make UGC that's talking to the camera. But I would just think about like, you obviously want to create better and better content. So yeah, if you don't want to create product based stuff, which I don't really do either, I don't really do product based UGC where I'm like showing a physical thing because yeah, I don't want to take out a bowl of water in my kitchen and like splash the product and the whole, no, like I really don't want to do it. I just don't care to do it. So the UGC I do is mostly for like more like services or apps or like certain platforms like banking products or things like that. I don't do like foundation, and like fashion and like things like that. But if that is something that interests you, if like that's a passion, like makeup or hair or like whatever, and you want to do that type of UGC, absolutely go for it. You'll find lots of different examples on
Yeah.
social media. Okay, looking at the rest of my list. Okay, this is one thing that I just saw on TikTok the other day and I thought it looked so cool. Basically, this girl, she does a flower wall rental. So basically, she bought a flower wall that she sets up as like it's like a backdrop or whatever, and she rents it out at a bunch of different things. So weddings, proposals, birthdays, corporate events where they want to have like a cute backdrop, whatever it is. And I don't know the logistics of it. I'm sure if you go onto TikTok and you're like, flower wall rental, you'll probably see her videos, but she's now turned it into a whole business. And I didn't look into how much she makes from it, but renting party supplies like costs money. And also you're paying her for the setup and takedown of it because it's something that, needs a lot of setup. But I feel like something like that, like I would expect to pay like $300 to $500 to rent it for an event. So she's there for like a couple, a few hours to set it up and then take it down and gets paid potentially $300 to $500. That's kind of nice. Yes, you do have to like invest upfront to buy the product and whatever, and also like start to market yourself. But I've also seen a lot of people rent out lots of other party supplies and stuff. So like if someone has a wedding and they bought all their stuff and chose not to rent it, they'll then rent out the items that they just purchased for their own wedding, or with like birthday parties or things like that, they'll rent it because a lot of people just don't want to spend the money to buy it and they don't want to have a bunch of stuff after an event that they're just going to do nothing with.
There's so many examples of this. I have a couple on my list as well, but one thing that comes to mind is right before I left Pittsburgh, one of my other creator friends and I, we co-hosted an event right before I left, and we rented, it was like a flower truck, and this girl, her husband built her, it was like a cart, and he put wheels on it, and then he painted it pink, and then her logo was like on the front of it, and then on the top, she had these little like holes that she could stick all the flowers in, and then people would come up and like make the flower bouquets, and then she would
So
charge
cute.
by flower. And the bouquets, like I did it at the event and it was like $35 for a bouquet, but the girls ate it up. Like every single flower was gone at the end of our event. So I can't even imagine how much money she made. Like she probably made
Yeah.
so much because it was so cute and aesthetic. Like we really wanted it at our event because it was a really good photo opportunity and everything like that. So yeah, there was kind of like an initial investment there, but then I feel like you easily make your money back. And then it's so fun. Like she gets to go to all of these events on the weekends and stuff. I feel like that's such a good, like kind of creative one. The other one, you mentioned birthday parties and stuff. Kids' birthday parties, I feel like is such a good one. I saw this thing on TikTok, a bouncy house rental. So you buy a bouncy house. I was looking them up before this podcast episode, and I feel like a good one is probably going to run you like $1,000, maybe even more than that. Obviously, the bigger your bouncy house is, the more you can charge. But the person in the TikTok video is saying that they charge like $200 to $300 per kid's birthday party. So you can easily make your money back on that as well. I also, one of my really good friends in Pittsburgh, she told me that for a while in her hometown, people were paying her to dress up as Elsa and come to their kids' birthday parties, which is so funny because I mean, she has like bleach blonde hair. She's super tall. Like she makes a really good princess, but like she said that she made like a lot of money for doing kids' birthday parties on the weekend. So get creative there.
When you started to say kids' birthday parties, that's where I thought you were going with this, is to like dress up as things, because I just saw a video the other day on TikTok. It was so funny. This mom was like hosting a birthday party for her son, and she hired like someone to come in as Spider-Man, and they bailed on her like a couple hours before. So her best friend dressed up as Spider-Man, having no idea like what to do. And like she literally like, she's like, the video, she's like crawling on the floor and like, sticking her arm up, but she like obviously like she did not know what she was doing. And then it was giving like Grinch vibes, like how like the Grinch kind of like walks around. It was the funniest thing, and I'm just like, it could be a side hustle, like it really
Yeah.
could.
No, my
I don't
friend said
know.
that how she got into it was her like niece or something was having a birthday party. So her aunt was like, please dress up as Elsa. Like she would love that, whatever. So she comes to this birthday party, and there's like obviously moms go to these little toddler birthday parties as well. And all the moms there were like, oh my gosh, my kid's birthday is next month. You have to come. So she booked out like a bunch of other events, like just by going to her niece's
God.
birthday party.
Stop. That's hilarious. I don't think I would be a good like
No,
character dress up. I don't think I would like it. But I mean,
but there's
if you
something for
really like,
everybody.
yes, exactly. If you love kids, get out there. I love kids, but not like that. I no, I don't want to put on like a wig or like a dress. Anyways, okay, next thing. These kind of like go together, I guess. Anyways, I feel like these kind of go together, but Airbnb decorator and wedding or no, charcuterie board slash picnic planner. I know these are big things. I guess these kind of go in with like the whole like flower wall thing too. But one thing I know is really popular is like Airbnb and hotel decorating. So if especially for like I feel like in Nashville this would hit because of the number of like bachelorette parties there, but a lot of people fly into cities for bachelorette parties or if they're just like having like a girls weekend away or something like that and they want the space to be decorated really cute, they'll pay someone to do that. And also for hotels. So, like for anniversaries and things like that, there are hotel decorating services. And I know, I don't remember how much they charge. I think it was like pretty pricey. I think it was like $150 because I looked into having a hotel decorated once when I was celebrating like a birthday with an ex. And it was pretty pricey. And then you would have to tip on top of that. So, if you offered something, obviously, that's like a competitive price. Like, and it's really not that hard. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
depends on what you put in there but I feel like it would be really fun. And then also charcuterie board and like picnic planning. I was looking into doing this with a friend of mine when we were traveling and I was like this would be so cute to have like a little beach picnic and have it set up. Holy crap. I think it was like $300 to $400 to have someone set it up. Now I get that like the setup is there and everything and there'd be snacks, but this tier of like snack stuff, which I can't even eat 99% of it because it was like crackers and cheese and I'm allergic to gluten and dairy. So I was like, I'll bring my own snacks, whatever. It was like the smallest snack platter size. So the majority of it is like the little table and the blanket that goes over it and whatever. But I'm like, whoever is running this business is making bank. And I love that for them. I personally didn't want to pay it because it was just going to be me and my one friend. But for like a whole birthday of girls, like if I was having a birthday celebration with 4 or 5 of my friends, yeah, like it really wouldn't be that bad. And the charcuterie board stuff kind of goes along with that, especially with the holidays coming up. A lot of people want to buy like boards that look really nice. And I know a girl I went to high school with started a business doing this because she just simply loved making them for her own gatherings with her friends. And a lot of people want to pay for it, like for, again, for events, for holiday parties, for New Year's party, for just anything, birthday parties, whatever, because they don't want to take the time to like buy all the stuff, cut it all up, put it all together. But also people want it to look aesthetic, but don't have the skills to do it. And the ones at the grocery store on like the plastic tray don't look cute. So then people want to pay someone to do it. And I don't know how much you can make from it, but it's
Yeah,
really
I
popular.
imagine a lot.
Mm-hmm.
On the Airbnb decorator side, when I went to Charleston a couple months ago for my best friend's 30th birthday, she hired an Airbnb decorator and it was really nice to just walk into the Airbnb and everything's like already ready to go. So I don't know how much she paid for that, but I imagine it's kind of expensive. And then on the charcuterie side, my friend actually wants to do this in Pittsburgh. This is her business idea or her, like, I mean, she has a full-time job, so kind of her side hustle idea. She wants to do kind of a mix of like the charcuterie board plus the flower truck kind of thing. And it would be like a mobile charcuterie truck kind of deal. And I feel like
Cute.
people are willing to spend so much money on charcuterie boards. So just anything like events based. I also just feel like it's so fun because you are going to meet so many people, like to spend your weekends going to a bunch of events and like people's private parties and stuff. You're going to meet so many people. So I feel like that's a fun side hustle idea for sure.
Yeah,
The I have only like a couple left on my list.
same.
One that I saw on TikTok a couple weeks ago was a girl talking about making money selling her iPhone photos to stock photography websites. And I've used stock photography websites a lot over the last couple of years for like websites and different things like that. But I actually think that this is a really good idea because every time I go to a stock photography website, it's always like super stock photo, like when what you imagine a stock photo to be, like a desktop like background image basically. But a lot of companies are now needing, like with the rise of UGC and stuff like that, a lot more companies are needing photos that look more organic. They look like you took them on an iPhone. So you're able to take the photos on your iPhone and upload them to a bunch of stock photography sites and make money from it. I like did a lot of research. I was like looking through the girl's TikTok account and kind of looking like at the ins and outs of how she did it. And you obviously do have to like upload a lot of photos. Obviously, the higher quantity of photos, the more chances you'll get for people to like buy them and you get the kickback and all of that. And then there's also a lot of different sites. And apparently, there's a lot of nuances to each of the sites into like which one pays better, which one's easier to get into, or which one has the easiest requirements and all of that. So it's obviously not as simple as like going onto a website, like taking the photos that are already on there and then you're going to make thousands of dollars. But I feel like if this is something, if you like taking photos already, if you have kind of an eye for that, then it's an easy way to make some more extra money.
I have a friend that should do that because he's the friend that's like, oh, wait, guys, no, hold on. I need to get the photo first. Or he's like, can you just like move this like over here, move your drink closer to that? I'm like, okay, I'm not the
Yeah, I'm
like
not
super
either.
aesthetic person like that, but I do always like, I'm always on the hunt for photos like that. So I feel like if you're already taking them, that's good. Okay, the last like two here, one, I'm not going to talk about that much because we've already done an episode on it, but Etsy, like print on demand or digital downloads, like it really does take time to build up. And we did an episode with Kate Robb on here where she kind of talked about how she makes money doing print on demand and digital downloads on Etsy. I think a lot of content that you see on the internet when it comes to doing like selling on Etsy or selling digital templates or digital downloads, like a lot of it is like, you should be making $5,000 in your first month and like gets, and it's just like frankly not realistic. Kate is obviously one of my best friends, so I'm simply just biased here. But I feel like the way Kate approaches it is just very realistic. Like she's like, hey, you might not make a single sale in your first month because that's normal. And like for her, I don't even think she made like, she didn't make a million sales in her first month. And she's very honest about that. And she starts new shops and tests it and tries it and like, gives all the insights and stuff. So she's obviously going to help you get more sales faster as soon as possible. But once you get it going, it can be something that like you put a couple hours a week into and it does make you money in the background. And depending on what you sell and like the quality of what you sell and all those things, it can be a really great side hustle, but it definitely takes more upfront. But I'm not gonna, you can go back and listen to the episode with Kate that we did on it. But the last one on my list is, this one's a little like funny. I don't think I could do this, but some people really could, is being a wedding officiant because it's free to get ordained and then you can make 200-300 per ceremony. And you're literally only at the ceremony for like a short amount of time. Obviously, you have to get there a little bit early to be like, I'm here, like, get just make sure the bride's not like, where's the officiant, whatever. And then you just go up there and you like marry the people. And then to my knowledge, you dip after that. So the con is I feel like, I mean, you have to go through the process of getting ordained, but I've heard it's pretty simple because a lot of people get ordained to like marry their friends or things like that. But then you're likely going to be working like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like those types of days, maybe not the most ideal, but to go out for maybe like 2 or 3 hours and get paid $300. I guess it depends to where the wedding is and like how far you have to drive, things like that. But it's not hard per se. You do have to be like, I'd be scared. The pressure, like I would definitely be nervous of like messing up a
Yeah, you have to
word
have the
during
personality
someone's
for that, I think.
service. Yeah.
Yes.
But I do feel like some people would really like it, um, and would just would find it, like, to be a fun side hustle to do, so wanted to mention it.
Yeah, definitely. And then the last two on my list, I don't need to spend like too much time on either of these. Notary services, and I like don't
Mm,
really know too much about this, but I did try to do like a decent amount of research before this. But essentially, like if you ever had to go get a document notarized, that just means that like someone has to be present while you're like signing it or whatever. That's what notarization means. And you can like get the whatever licenses are required to be able to be that person that notarizes documents. And you can do this either online or in person. Like sometimes you have to go physically go to a notary to get like a document signed or whatever. Or there's also ways to do it online. So I've had to get something notarized before where I've
mhm.
had to like log into basically a Zoom call and the notary is present and then she has to verify my ID and all of that. So once you kind of like go through the process of becoming a notary, then you can make like I've seen I was watching like some TikTok videos and stuff and I've seen like 75 to $100 an hour potentially, obviously depending. I feel like that's a big range. And I did definitely see on TikTok people were saying like don't expect to become a notary and then start making like $5,000 a month. Like you have to build it up, obviously. But that could be something to look into as well. And then the last one is becoming a virtual assistant. And this is like such a wide variety of things. Essentially, a virtual assistant, obviously, it's in the name. It's an assistant where you don't work in person, you're not showing up to an office, you are working remote. And I feel like this is becoming such a big field just because online businesses are becoming so popular, and like small online businesses, so solopreneurs are becoming like it's becoming much more mainstream to have a business online where it's just me running my business, and I have a virtual assistant and she helps me with a lot of admin things and customer service for my budget template and different things like that. I feel like you obviously have to, it's not as simple as just being like, I'm going to be a virtual assistant today and I'm going to go apply for a job and get a job. I think like defining your niche, like what are the actual skills that you offer? What types of clients do you want to work with? And I would probably say like building up your LinkedIn presence is really important. And you probably need to do some like cold pitches to people to, get those types of gigs. I know for me, like, if I had people in my inbox, and I have had people in my inbox on LinkedIn being like, hey, Erin, I saw you're like working as a content creator. Do you need a virtual assistant? Do you need a social media manager? Do you need someone to assist you with a lot of the like admin things that help your business run? And I feel like that's a lot better of a way for me to source talent than for me to have to list a job posting or anything like that. So being a virtual assistant, I feel like that's becoming more of a larger career path, I would say, with the rise of online businesses.
100%. I also have an assistant. She's virtual, but she literally lives in Massachusetts as well. But I feel like it is something that is becoming more popular. I will say, I do think it's also becoming more popular to have like virtual like influencer assistants. Like I know I've gotten a bunch of messages from people saying that they completed some sort of like influencer assistant academy type of thing. And yeah, so it's kind of like virtual assistants, but specifically for content creators or people who own like online businesses where they're using social media. So it seems like the training or course that these people have taken is basically teaching them like specific things they would do for people like that. So like reposting content, how to like if they're writing out they're reposting to YouTube, like what does the title look like on there, like learning about search engine optimization and things like that that would be relevant specifically for content creators and
Mm-hmm.
online businesses, which I feel like it makes a lot of sense considering that industry is really big right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
or
yeah,
even
there's a lot of different ways
managing
you can
their
do it.
email inbox, or like I know for us, like with the podcast and stuff, like having someone to pull out little social clips and manage our
Mm-hmm.
podcast Instagram account. I feel like in that case, being able to like very clearly articulate to the content creator that you're pitching to, like what you can help them with and like what value you can provide. Because I know for me, for example, there are so many things that I could use help with, but I can't like off the top of my head be like, I need help with this and this. But if someone came to me and was like, hey, Erin, I could help you with this and this is how I can do it, then I would definitely hear them out in that regard. So yeah, it's such a big industry. And if you are interested in social media, but you're not really at a place where you want to have your face on camera or you don't want to grow a following or anything like that, that's such a good way to still be involved in the industry.
100%. And so many people who are on the internet need lots of help because
Yeah.
there's a lot going on and a lot of different, because usually those types of people have multiple income streams and multiple like projects going on at once. They're not someone who's like, okay, from 9 to 5, I do this specific thing. There's like a million different things that
Mm-hmm.
happen. And just like even managing all those different things and keeping track of everything. And like you said, the email inbox and just all of it. There's a lot to it. But even if you didn't want to work with a content creator too, like there's lots of people who like
Mm-hmm.
just executives and founders and things that like just need virtual assistants, and
Or
it's a
people
lot
that
of
have
different ways
small
to get into it.
businesses and aren't yet leveraging social media, and you can
Yeah.
help them leverage social media better for their business and articulate that value. So there's so many different ways to go about it. And I feel like even just like searching virtual assistant on YouTube and kind of like going down that rabbit hole of like different way, it'll just help you like think outside the box more of what you can offer and like what your niche in that world can look like. So I think that brings us to the end of this episode. We're running out of time here. I thought this was a really fun one just to kind of like go through a lot of different ways to make money. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, increasing our income, like I'm talking about Grace and I, increasing our income has been so important for our financial journey, and it's made us be able to hit our financial goals so much quicker. Like, I know if I was still working my corporate job and solely making my corporate salary, I would not be where I am today with my finances. And obviously, it's important to, get the expense side of your budget under control and learn how to manage the money that you're making. But at some point, you can only cut your expenses so far, and increasing your income is going to be such a better, more efficient way to make more financial progress. So let us know in Spotify if you have any other side hustle ideas that have worked for you or you've seen other people do that you're curious about, because then we can publish all of the comments and you guys will be able to kind of like learn from each other too. But as always, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in Spotify or you can DM us at the Life You Love podcast. But thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the podcast, and until next week.